Hi, I'm Tinashe Kanuswamira, a postdoctoral researcher with the African Center for Cities, and today I'll be presenting on food and the informal economy in African cities. The informal economy plays a central role in the food system, particularly in Global South and African cities, where it often dominates. Due to a lack of employment opportunities in the formal sector, the informal economy is crucial in providing people with different ways of ensuring they are able to eat. This includes linkages between people living on the periphery in peri-urban areas where cultivation happens and food flows from rural areas into urban areas to support street vendors who sometimes purchase products from far away and make them available to ordinary people. The informal economy is essential for individuals with limited purchasing power due to the state of the economy. For example, research shows that spaza shops sell most staples in different quantities, allowing for someone with insufficient money to purchase whatever they need at a particular time. However, this can have a negative impact in the long term, as the cost of buying items in small quantities may end up being more expensive than buying them in bulk. In essence, the informal economy fills in the gaps of the formal food system, but there are issues with legislation and policies that prevent cities from acknowledging and harnessing the potential of the informal food economy to add to the food system in cities. As discussed previously, cities in Africa and the Global South have been heavily influenced by their colonial pasts, with infrastructure designed to meet the needs of a specific population at the expense of native people. This legacy still affects the way things are today, such as the food system in Cape Town, South Africa. The food system is linked to colonialism and the corporate world, with a system that still extracts wealth from the masses for the benefit of a few. Research by the African Center for Cities over the past decade shows that there are more supermarkets in wealthier areas than in low-income areas, and while there has been a recent expansion into low-income areas, the offerings differ greatly from those in wealthier areas. Supermarkets are often assumed to provide healthier food options, but this is not necessarily the case, as fast food chains often accompany them, increasing the availability of convenient, low nutrient-dense foods. However, the informal economy provides an alternative source of fresh and nutritious food options at a lower price than supermarkets. Another source of food in urban areas is urban agriculture. Of course, this is not to say that this activity is the panacea to food insecurity in African cities. However, it certainly could be a part of a wider set of solutions. For example, urban community gardens in most of the cities use agroecological techniques to cultivate crops without chemicals, providing a healthier option than what is typically found in supermarkets. Such initiatives could help alleviate the lack of access to affordable, nutritious food if they were more widely supported as part of a wider set of solutions. By shortening the value chain, these farms make fresh vegetable options available within communities that most need them, and the same goes for local food outlets like chisanyamas within the informal economy in these areas. Overall, the legacy of colonialism continues to impact the food system in African cities, with the informal economy offering an alternative to the corporate-dominated formal food system. As we can see, the informal economy plays an important role in filling the gap where the formal economy is not able to operate. So, it is important that the informal economy be incorporated into future urban food planning interventions. To begin with, it is important to note that this is a complex policy issue that requires action at multiple levels, from policy to grassroots. Moreover, there are a number of myths surrounding the informal food system in African cities that are just not true. For example, people say the informal food economy does not pay taxes, they buy and sell illegal foodstuffs, and deliberately avoid compliance requirements. Research by the African Center for Cities has shown that most of such assumptions are simply not true. One approach of incorporating the informal economy into planning interventions is to build awareness and pride in working within the informal economy. Currently, many people are not proud to work in the informal economy and may shy away from discussing it. Narratives about the individuals in informal settings are frequently interpreted as stories about disadvantaged individuals confronting poverty. Although these negative associations are accurate, there is a broader perspective to consider. In various cities throughout South Africa, numerous informal traders are said that they favor operating their own enterprises over the alternative of poorly compensated formal jobs. It is crucial for policymakers to understand that the way cities are developing in Africa is unique and different from other parts of the world, and they must consult with multiple stakeholders involved in the informal economy. Policymakers must listen and understand how informal activities contribute to the larger picture. Legislation can also be an entry point by supporting and improving community initiatives that add value to local economies. It is important to recognize that the informal economy is here to stay due to the nature of the economy and urbanization in African cities. By acknowledging this and taking steps to support and integrate the informal economy, policymakers can create a more equitable and sustainable food system. It is also important to note that the informal economy offers various social safety nets. One of these is the ability of consumers to access credit from traders based on trust, which builds over time as a social connection. When a consumer is unable to pay for an item, they can request to pay it at a later time, and the trader is willing to oblige because of their relationship with the customer. This practice is common across multiple African cities and is not possible in supermarkets. In addition, informal traders also act as eyes on the street, providing passive surveillance and enhancing safety for the surrounding area. Finally, by organizing as a collective, informal traders have more bargaining power to lobby for better working conditions, infrastructure, and other forms of support from the state. The informal economy is a significant employer in many African cities, providing income for families and improving access to food. Therefore, it acts as a safety net by offering employment opportunities where there would otherwise be none.